plop down in the chair. I'm wearing this robe because it's kind of damp and wet and cool outside, and there's just certain weather conditions. Every people say, "Where's your hemp robe at?" I was like, "Well, I'm wearing my hemp robe now." I made this, by the way, on my sewing machine about 20 years ago, something like that. For those of you that kept asking, I have it right here. There's the new Fujifilm 18mm f1.4. I'm working on the review for it. I'm still recovering, and my hands hurt from doing an enormous amount of leather work over the past few days, especially yesterday. I spent like 12 hours plus yesterday doing leather work, and it was brutal. I don't know if you know this or not, but the IRS are trying to pass a law, and I think it's going to go through. It's tacked on to some other sort of bill in Washington, that the banks have to report any movement of $600 or more in or out of your bank account. You want to talk about you know, a Big Brother and police state. Every transaction of $600 or more in or out of your bank account, absolutely unbelievable. The banks are actually scared to death of this happening because they know people are going to take their money out of the bank. We all know banks are evil. Consider, you know, well, whatever you do with your money is none of my business. Consider cashing out or sticking it into hard assets like land, which is what I've done. And once again, I don't give financial advice. Been answering a lot of emails recently. I do have 2 email addresses. My main email for contact is neoplatonist@icloud.com, but my PayPal account is kenw111. A lot of people send correspondences to one, and you know, they think the PayPal account is a normal, but it is. Either one of them is perfectly fine to send me an email to, but I answer a lot of emails. I've actually spent like the past 4 hours plus answering emails, and I do read every comment. I wanted to make a couple comments in this video. And by the way, this video is entitled "Don't Watch This Video." So, but if you do like my videos, and I'm helpful, and I try to be, you know, brutally honest, and sometimes that works, and sometimes even if it doesn't work on the video, I still say to myself, and I'm comforted by the facts, like, you know, at least I was honest and forthright in what I said. I didn't have some sort of ulterior motive or agenda in what I said. But any donation is really, really kindly welcome, and I mean that. I like making, you know, leather pieces for myself. I like designing things, but I mean, I'm working hard on my book on retroduction, and I've written a lot of articles for you, and they're all completely free. But there's a reason why I work 7 days a week, is that you know, it's difficult to pay the bills, honestly. And you know, I don't want to work 7 days a week. But I just want to say any donation is really kindly welcome, and I would really appreciate, even if it's $1. You say, well, you know, and someone, maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe 10 people, could be 100, I don't know, say, you know, oh, this guy's, you know, begging for a donation. And I don't see anything wrong with that. The most honest thing in the world, whether they be, you know, someone that's going to use it for alcohol, and I don't drink alcohol, by the way. The most honest thing in the world is if you're walking by somebody on the street and they have their hat out and they're like playing their guitar, you can just continue walking past them, or you could drop a quarter in the hat. So to me, that's been around since time immemorial. I'm never going to feel guilty about that. And of all the other YouTubers, I used to not sell anything at all, but because I have to work twice as hard now to make half as much, which is almost literally true. I work twice as hard now to make half as much money. Reason why, I mean, I'm different than the other YouTubers. I didn't used to sell anything at all, but now I, you know, sell some leather pieces. But it takes an enormous amount of time, makes my hands hurt, and I have to have these $1,000 machines, and I have to have an enormous amount of skills to build these things. But I'm not doing, I still feel proud in doing that, and there's pride in manufacture. I'm not like selling t-shirts that is outsourced, because all those t-shirts are not made by the YouTubers themselves. They're outsourced to other people. So they don't actually have hands-on with the stuff that you're getting from them. And I actually feel proud that, you know, I'm sitting there, you know, rubbing beeswax stuff into these wallets by hand, pounding on them with a hammer by hand. And so I don't feel bad in doing that. You know, it takes up an enormous amount of time and labor, but at least that's something that I've actually made with my hands that I ship to the person. But I just want to say any donation is really appreciated, and there's a link below if you want to make one. Even $1 helps. I mean, it really does. Absolutely anything, even crypto. I've only actually ever had about 9 crypto donations, maybe 10 crypto donations. And what I've always done with it actually is you could use crypto on Overstock.com to like buy stuff you need for your house, because stuff is always breaking, obviously. So the few times that I've had crypto donations, I went to Overstock, bought something, but I'm not going to feel bad about asking for that if you want to make one. If you want to tell me to like jump in a lake of fire, that's fine too, but I do write a lot of articles and books for free, and I do read every comment, and I try to be as helpful as possible, and I do lead a simple life. So, and the reason why I'm wearing this robe is because it's really comfortable because of the weather, but also too, for some odd reason, recently people have been requesting, "Where's your hemp robe at?" So that's the reason why I'm wearing it. The one thing I'd like to point out in this video, and this video is not about begging for donations, is that more so than any other time in history, people need to understand what Baudelarization is. That's where stuff is left out, like detectives when they're interviewing a criminal. They're not really listening to what they're saying. A really good detective, they're listening to what the person is avoiding talking about. That really clues them in. And what's going on in the world right now is you and I and me and so on and so forth. They're not allowed to talk about ABC, XYZ. You're only getting flack when you're over the target. You really, 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 I have to stress this, you really have to pay attention to what all these different entities, and you know who they are, don't want you to talk about or to read. You have to zero in on that. It's like, if people don't want you to know about it, don't want you to talk about it, you need to, you know, engage your analytical mind and really go down that avenue. It's like, this is the stuff I can't talk about, and stuff that is not allowed, you know, it gets put up and it's like, oh, all of a sudden this is not available anymore to view. I wonder why. It's probably on another channel, you know, another website. You know what I'm talking about. You really need to pay attention to that. A lot of people out there are just so misinformed. You know, they've got their eyes glued to MSM if they're half awake. I would beg people to keep their eyes peeled for the stuff that they are pushed to look at and then look in the other direction. Because the easiest way, you can actually take advice from evil people. Wise people can take helpful advice from evil people, and the way you do it is by having wisdom. It's like whatever the evil person is talking about, wants you to concentrate on and agree with, you go 180 degrees the opposite direction. With wisdom, one can actually see through evil people. It's like, well, this person wants me to look at this. He's fundamentally evil, or that group is evil. They don't want me to talk about this or know about this. That means that the answer is over here. So, a lot of people superficially think that, you know, you can only get wisdom from wise people. But with wisdom itself, you know, you can look at the, you know, the jabbering blather of evil groups, evil people and entities. It's like, oh, this is what they're talking about. That means the answer is over here. And I don't listen to her music or nothing, but it had made the news, old Nicki Minaj. And she's just a rapper, and I don't like her music. You know, she seemed to be like a very beautiful person, even though I don't listen to music like that. She's a lovely person and a human being. And she'd been brutally attacked. And I don't care about Hollywood or nothing like that. I could care less. But it does make a point. She was brutally attacked for doing one thing, asking a question. If anything is an indication of a corrupt world and society, is that no one should ever be attacked. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Wise people ask a lot of questions. Stupid people usually don't ask any questions at all. She's brutally attacked. If you don't know what question is, you could look it up. Okay? Just look it up. What's the question? She's just completely miffed and upset, and she'd been attacked by all her peers, whatever, for asking a simple question. An honest, simple question, not a loaded question. And that tells you a lot about society, and this stuff is just rampant all over. There has been a huge upswing of all the tyranny and evil stuff that I see coming out of Australia. And I love Australians in Australia, and I'd love to visit there, even though I can't afford it. Even if I could afford it, it's like, what would I do? Go there and go into lockdown? I mean, that sounds like a living hell. It's ramping up horrifically in Australia. The stuff that I'm seeing, it's just mind-bogglingly horrific. Someone just sent me a video in this news out of Melbourne that it's not supposed to say Melbourne, you're supposed to say Melbourne. Okay, there we go. I'm supposed to say Australia, you're supposed to say Australia. That ain't come I. That they're shutting down public transport to keep people out of the city. I can't, and they're building all these camps for concentration. Building all these huge facilities. In Australia, it's not funny at all. I wish more people were aware of what's going on in Australia. My heart goes out to all the Australians, and I didn't know so many Australians were watching. There's a guy that leaves us all sorts of comments below, and I didn't know what he looked like. You know, I agree with him. He seemed like a nice guy. He's going by the nickname Ruthless. And I knew he's Australian. Then we went on a Facebook live stream for a few seconds. I was on live stream, and then he dialed me up via phone through Facebook. And, you know, he's like, I don't know, 55 or something like that. Seems like a nice codger. That's not a right word, right? Codger. He's not a codger. You know, like your good grandpa or something like that, you know? Like a good grandpa. Like, hey, mate, hello. No, Australians don't really talk like that. The one thing, too, that evil people and entities are doing right now is they want you to stay isolated. They want you... here's a good one, too. This is something I've been using for years. They want to treat you like mushrooms. They want to feed you poop and keep you in the dark. Right now, there's all these entities in the world that want to treat you like a mushroom, feed you crap, and keep you in the dark. They don't want you to come together. They want to keep you in fear, and they want to divide you and conquer you. That's the way you conquer somebody, entities, is divide and conquer. They want you isolated and living in heinous fear, shaking like a leaf, or like, you know, one of those little chihuahuas, you know, those little teacup chihuahuas. You know, it's peeing on itself and it's shaking like a leaf. You could tell it's neurotic as heck. It just, you know, it's like a frightened anorexic girl or something like that. That's what they want. You need to do exactly the opposite of that. Once again, I don't tell anybody what to do with their life. You make your own decisions. But you should always do so. If you acknowledge and you have the brain to realize that these entities are evil, you need to see what they're saying and do. Yeah. Be with people. Make connections. Don't let them isolate you and living in fear. What, you know, there's an old saying, it was like, I'm not gonna, you know, perish in fear on my knees, you know. I'd rather, I'm gonna perish, and everybody's gonna ultimately perish. I'm gonna perish on my 2 feet like a, you know, like somebody that has a bit of nobility in me. I'm not gonna live my life in fear according to a bunch of power-mongering tyrants. I'm just not. And that's not you telling you how to live your life or what to do versus, you know, what. I don't tell anybody what to do or how to live their lives. You know, do this, don't do that. But you need to realize what evil is. And with wisdom, you know, recognizing what to do is very evil. I mean, sorry, recognize what to do from the premise of seeing the evil that is said, to do the opposite of that. That's a wise suggestion. But, you know, you make up your own mind. I said you're only getting a flack when you're over the target. You need to realize what Baudelarization is. Maybe spend 5 minutes to look up what Baudelarization is. It's a throwback to puritanical England when they would take out the saucy bits of Shakespeare or the Bible. There were even saucy bits in the Bible. They were taken out. So we didn't want people to know about that. That's too saucy. You pull out the good bits. It's very important as an attribute of wisdom to realize the stuff that other people don't want you to study and know. It is really, really, really important. That's tragic about the IRS. They're going to pass that thing probably because it's tacked on to some other nonsense, like a spending bill, I believe, where, you know, if you're moving $600 in or out of your bank for whatever reason, you know, the IRS wants to know about it. They're doubling the IRS budget. They're nearly doubling their workforce. I mean, we're talking about tyrannical nonsense. I'll just tell you flat out, that's just tyranny. I don't do anything untowards. I lead a simple life, but the notion that anytime I were to like need $1,000 to buy something, you know, the IRS needs to know, that's just pure evil. Last thing I want to say in this video, once again, as I started at the beginning, and I'm still reviewing the 18mm f1.4 Fujifilm X-mount, is that any donation is really very, very kindly welcome. And, you know, even if it's $1, or if you want to tell me to jump in a lake of fire, that's fine too. I'm still recovering from extreme exhaustion. Humble apologies. I wish I had a lot more twill hemp. If anybody out there has a bunch of twill hemp fabric, I get a thread. In my sewing machine, the issue with having a sewing machine sewing all the time is all these threads laying around. If anybody has any twill hemp, let me know. I'd love to buy it. I want to make a pair of pants out of twill hemp. Hemp is nearly indestructible. It's hard to pull apart. It's UV resistant. It's fabulous fabric. It breathes better than cotton. It's very tough stuff. This is very soft. Most hemp cloth is rough, nasty rough. This is nice and soft. Anybody got some twill hemp, let me know. But any donation is really, really appreciated. If you want to say I'm begging for a donation, that's fine. Tell me to go take a flying leap or a long walk off of a short pier, that's also fine. I can lay my head down late at night about 4 o'clock in the morning or whenever I go to bed, knowing that, you know, at least I was honest and tried to be helpful. I read every comment and I answered the emails, so I'm only a simple two-legged creature with 2 hands, and I work every day, and I just try to lead a simple life. Doesn't seem that simple, but anyway. Thank you so much for anything and everything, and let me know if I could help you, and I do read every comment, including the really nasty comments. People are like, I hate you, you're fat, bald, and ugly, you suck, I hate you. I'm like, oh, that's good. You know, I agree with them. It's like, yeah, you're right, you know. You're right. Even I don't like to look in the mirror and brush my teeth in the morning. Like, try to block that out now. I'm losing a little bit of weight recently. I've just been eating like 1 time a day. I have done some intermittent fasting. I didn't eat all day except for a sandwich until later in the day. So some people comment, it's like, you look like you're losing a little weight. Yeah, it's a little bit, not much. So try to keep it up. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.